Are you looking for an Atlanta neighborhood here in the city that has some walkability and you don't have to pay $1 million for a decent house? Well, if so, one neighborhood you might want to consider is the neighborhood of Kirkwood. I'm going to show you all around this neighborhood, show you a little bit of what the homes are like, what there is to do around here. So stay tuned. We're talking all about living in Kirkwood right now. Hey guys, my name is Molly and welcome back to my channel where I talk all about living here in the Atlanta area. And today we're going to be talking about the neighborhood of Kirkwood. I have done a vlog tour of this neighborhood before, but it's been a couple of years, so the prices have changed and some different restaurants have popped up in this neighborhood. So I'm going to give you a full, complete tour. So if you missed my last video, don't worry, I will catch you up to speed. But before we get any further, let's put Kirkwood up on a map so you can see exactly where I am at. And you're going to see it's just about 4 miles east of the downtown area. Getting around town from Kirkwood, if you want to get over to the downtown area, that is about 16 minutes. Midtown is a 20-minute drive. Buckhead is about 30 minutes, and the airport is 25 minutes. But of course, if you're driving during peak times, add a little extra onto that. Now, the Kirkwood area does not have its own MARTA station, but it is very close to a couple different MARTA stations. You can connect onto the one over by its neighbor over in Edgewood, Candler Park, or the one over in the East Lake area. So really close to either of those. And you know, I'm starting my tour here right in the heart of Kirkwood, which is their little downtown area. So if you've been seeking kind of a small town feel, I really feel like you can get that here in the Kirkwood area. I mean, right behind me, there is a library. Across the street, there is a fire station, and so it just kind of feels like its own small little town. So if you're kind of scared of being in the city, well, I feel like Kirkwood, you don't even feel that. You feel like you're just part of a small community. But before I talk anymore, I'm just going to give you a stroll and a glimpse down the main drag of Kirkwood, which is off of Hosea L. Williams Drive, and you'll find a bunch of different restaurants. I'm standing right by their Urban Pie pizza joint, and remember, I am doing this vlog here at about 11 a.m. in the morning, so not everything is really up and opening right now. It's a weekday, so if you're not seeing a lot of people out, it's just because it's a little bit early in the day. Cute little downtown area, right? Now, if you watch my original Kirkwood vlog tour, you'll notice that the Kirkyard is no longer there. It's been replaced with the Argonaut. But this little district of restaurants and shops is basically in the center of this neighborhood. So whether you live on the north side, the south side, the east, or the west, you can pretty much easily get to the center of this commercial district. So I'm going to keep on walking down Hosea L. Williams Drive and head towards the schools. We'll talk about that next. One thing I wanted to point out is that if you are a biker, there are some pretty good dedicated bike lanes right along Hosea L. Williams Drive. You can take this all the way down into the Edgewood area and get over to Target and eventually hop over to the Beltline. I'll talk more about Beltline connectivity a little bit later coming up. Now, if you're looking to move to the Atlanta area and you want further help with your home search, the easiest thing that you can do besides watching all of my videos is just reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation and figure out what neighborhood best fits your lifestyle and your budget. So all my contact information is below. Don't be shy. I love hearing from you guys. In fact, I ran into one of you that watches my channel. Her name's Andrea. She was walking her dog. She moved here about a year ago from the DC area and said she absolutely loves it here. So thank you, Andrea, for watching my channel. And yeah, so I'm glad to hear that, you know, my channel is helping some of you make decisions on where you want to move. But if you want to speed up that process, just reach out to me and we can go from there. All right, I'm going to head over to where the schools are and I'll tell you more about that and also what else there is to do in the Kirkwood area, so stay tuned. Now, if you have kiddos that are going to school, for the elementary school, it is zoned to a Toomer Elementary School, which is right behind me. There is Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School and Maynard Jackson High School. Those are kind of over in the Grant Park area. You could also potentially get into the Drew Charter School, which is over in the Eastlake neighborhood, just right next door. But that is a lottery system. But if you live in the Kirkwood area, you do qualify to get a little bit more priority than someone that's just in the Atlanta public school system. If you go online to look at the rankings of the public schools, you're going to see they're kind of like in the middle, but I will say I toured the Toomer Elementary School and they have a lot going for it. I think it's a great school. They've got phenomenal backing. There's a lot of families involved. The PTO is strong. They've got a lot of different extracurricular activities. So definitely do your research and see if it's going to fit your needs of what you're looking for in a school. But one other thing I wanted to point out, I'm going to come back here, but right behind me, right across the street from the Toomer Elementary School, there is this walking, jogging path. This is part of the trolley trail line. I will tell you more about that, but that will connect you eventually over into the Beltline. But I'll talk more about that here in a bit. But I want to keep walking up Rogers Street because at the end of the street, there was a big commercial development that is a pretty cool spot to hang out. There's always different rolling events. So let me walk there and we'll talk about that more. If you're looking for something to do on the northeastern side of the Kirkwood area is this cool place called the Pullman Yards. It's a collection of old warehouses that have been turned into kind of multi-purpose, multi-function spaces. Now, it looks dead right now because really it's just really not open, but come in the evening times and on weekends, this place can be packed. And a lot of these warehouses are used for different special art exhibits. They've had like a balloon museum exhibit, a Jurassic Park dinosaur exhibit. They do concerts here. They've had Senator Warnock and Obama here for some political campaigns. They do pickleball, roller skating. They've got a couple of restaurants here now. So a lot of fun things that are happening here on the weekends. Now, if you're wondering what these buildings used to be, originally they were used to build fertilizer bombs for World War II. Then Coca-Cola had a shop set up here. And this has been the backdrop for several movie filmings, including The Hunger Games, The Fast and the Furious, and Bad Boys 3. I can't help but think about the Bad Boys song. Anyway, what you gonna do? So let me head back down Rogers Street. We'll talk about that trail. And also one thing I want to point out is that there are soccer fields called the Arizona Soccer Field. So if your kid is into soccer and they're playing in or Atlanta soccer sports, chances are on weekends they're going to be playing over at that Atlanta soccer field. So it's a really nice turfed field, but that's right here off of Rogers Street. Just walking down Rogers Street reminds me how much Kirkwood has changed over the years. I mean, that apartment building and those newer townhomes, that wasn't there, 5-6 years ago. And that's one thing about Kirkwood, I should say, If you look at Kirkwood 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it was a completely different neighborhood. It wasn't quite as thriving as it is today. I would say there was more crime back then, and people would have really considered this kind of a transitional neighborhood, but now it is just another neighborhood. But now I am walking on the trolley trail line. This is a path that will take you from basically that Toomer Elementary School down to the Cohen Park, and they have added on, that was something they've been talking about doing for years and years and years, is adding onto the trolley trail line so it could connect over into the Beltline. Well, they have added a section, and now it'll take you down over into the Edgewood area, and eventually they will add on another section that will take you from the Edgewood over into Reynoldstown, where you will hit the Beltline. But right behind me here is the Kirkwood Dog Park. So if you've got a dog and you want them to run around freely, you can take them over to that dog park. But I'm going to be walking over towards the Cohen Park area to show you that park. There's actually two big parks in the Kirkwood area. But one thing I should mention, that, you know, if you are wondering about the Beltline and how far away are we from the Beltline, basically it's about 2.2 miles to connect to the closest spot over in the Reynoldstown area. So it's not too far away. And the great thing is, with this trolley trail line connectivity, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, so now I've crossed over into Cohen Park, or is it pronounced Cohen Park? I don't really know for sure, but this is Kirkwood's largest park of the two parks that they have here. And if you notice on the corner there off of Hosea, there is the cutest little popcorn shop. If you're looking for good birthday party favors, they have some excellent tasty popcorn ideas and treats, and lots of fun candy. But here I am in the park, and I just wanted to give you a brief snapshot of what this park looks like. You got basketball courts, there's tennis courts, there's a cute playground equipment, there's baseball fields. So definitely a nice big park to sprawl out on. And at the edge of this park, you can keep on going on that trolley trail line. And if you keep on following that trail long enough, you're going to hit the El Tesoro Mexican restaurant that's located in Edgewood. It's really good. They got some excellent margaritas too. So man, now I am getting hungry. And speaking of being hungry, you know, Kirkwood does have its own little area of restaurants, but if you want some more restaurants, you could hop right next door over to Oakhurst for some more restaurants in their little Oakhurst Village area, or just go a little further into the downtown Decatur area. You're probably looking at maybe 3-4 miles at the most, so you're very close to all of that. Plus, if you need to do grocery shopping, you're going to just go about a mile down over into Edgewood and hit the Target there. There's the Kroger. If you want a Publix, you're going to have to go over in the East Lake area. And they did open up a Lidl here probably 2 or 3 years ago off of Memorial Avenue, so that's another shopping option. One other thing I should mention, if you're thinking, hey, is there a public pool somewhere here in Kirkwood? No, there isn't. That is not one thing that is here in any of these parks. If you're looking for a pool, probably the closest place to look would be over at the YMCA, which is off of Memorial Avenue. Okay, now I'm gonna hit the other park, show you that, and then we'll get into some of the neighborhood and talk about some of the homes, what the prices are, and that kind of thing. And welcome to the Bessie Brandon Park. Now this is the other big park that is here in the Kirkwood area. Has some great playground equipment. My kids used to love playing on that. There's some basketball courts, tennis courts, this big giant field. And this is just north of that commercial district. So if you wanted to grab a bite to eat from here, it's just a couple blocks away. So super easy. But this will also be the host to one of the big festivals that is hosted here every spring. That is called the Kirkwood Spring Fling. It's, you know, a mixture of arts and crafts and fun things for the kiddos. So it's a great time for the neighborhood. You know, speaking of events that happen here in Kirkwood, besides the Kirkwood Spring Fling, they always have the Kirkwood Wine Stroll that's happening in September. And then they also do like their play on a Mardi Gras parade in February. So as you can see, a lot of community events. So if you are looking for that community feel with a lot of activity, you know, Kirkwood is definitely one up there that you should consider. So speaking of living here, let's talk about the home. So I'm going to get walking and get on one of these streets so I can show you some home examples and tell you what you're going to have to pay to live here. Okay, let's talk about home prices that you can find here in the Kirkwood area. For a single family home, the average price for a house here is $779,000, and on average that'll get you about a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, about 2,200 square feet. Now the range of homes, now in the 300s that's going to be a fixer upper. In the 400s you might find a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, small, maybe cute, or maybe it needs a little bit of work. In the 500s you'll find some 3-2s, but again, I find those are going to be homes that are kind of on the outskirts of the Kirkwood area on a busy road or something that's a little bit less desirable. That's where you're going to find homes in the 500K price range. If you're wanting a decent 4-bedroom, 3-bath, you're probably going to be paying in that 800K range. But right behind me, this is an example of a bungalow here, and Kirkwood is full of bungalows with those rocking chair front porches. This one is a 3-2. It is just over 2,000 square feet. It sold for $769,000. Now the layout is kind of your typical choppy bungalow layout, and it's going to be all closed off with the different sections of rooms. The kitchen is granite countertops with painted blue cabinetry, but the location is killer because it is just around the corner from all of the restaurants in the downtown Kirkwood area. Let me walk up the street a little bit and I'll show you kind of the extreme opposite of something. If you want brand new or newer, I'll show you what that looks like. So if you haven't been able to notice that Kirkwood is a mix of bungalows, you get some Victorian style bungalows, like there's this pretty Victorian style bungalow right here behind me. And then you're gonna get some brand new builds with a garage. And that's again, one thing, if you're getting an older house, you're probably not gonna get a garage, you're going to get a driveway. New construction now is getting up into that $1.4 million range. Now Kirkwood, you know, probably 4 or 5 years ago, hadn't even seen a home over $1 million, but that is starting to creep up more and more now in this neighborhood. Now I've seen that there's 14 sales over $1 million in the past 6 months here. So it is definitely happening a little bit more. So if you're wanting more space, you're wanting that 5-bedroom, 4-bath house, you're definitely going to pay more in that $1 million to $1.4 million range, just depending on the age of the home, location, that kind of thing. But example right behind me, this one was built in 2022. This one sold just under 1.3 million, and it's a 5-bedroom, 5.5-bath, beautiful finishes inside, and it has a garage with an ADU or auxiliary dwelling unit above the garage, so you could rent it out as an apartment. So that's kind of a cool option as well. So yeah, if you're wanting something newer, you're going to be paying probably in that $1 million to $1.4 million range. But if you're getting something that's a resale, but still pretty good and sizable, you could be paying in that 800 to 900K range for a 4 or 5-bedroom home. So there's a lot of different options here. Now let's talk about townhomes. Not a ton of townhomes in this neighborhood. There's a few kind of on the edges, like the paint box townhomes. Those were built, I don't know, probably 4 years ago or so. Those will cost you right around the 500K price point, and at the average price for a townhome in Kirkwood is $551,000. As far as condos, there's not a ton of condos in this neighborhood as well, but there are a few options. The average price is going to be $262,000. In fact, you know, if you are looking for condos, one option is there are the Village at Kirkwood condos. There was a 2-1 that sold there for 812 square feet for $275,000. The HOA is pretty low at $220 a month. So those are a great location because they are all right by all of the restaurants and shops in the downtown Kirkwood area. I'm walking down a typical street here in Kirkwood, and first of all, notice how quiet it is. It's really relatively quiet for a neighborhood that's here in the city, but you're going to find a lot of different homes that are mixed in with each other. Like you've got this newer farmhouse style mixed in with kind of that older, smaller square footage bungalow. So whether you're looking for a giant house or a small house, you can find something definitely here in the Kirkwood area. But one thing I will warn you is that, you know, if you are looking at some of these older homes in Kirkwood, some of them can look great on the outside, but inside they can be a little quirky. You know, these are older homes. They're built differently than how we live today, and you'll see some homes where people have tried to renovate them and adjust them, but they sometimes still don't flow quite right. So just keep that in mind when you are shopping here in the Kirkwood area for homes. Hopefully that home price reflects how well laid out that home is. But let me keep walking, and I'm going to show you one other home example of something kind of in the middle of the price range that you can find here in Kirkwood. One thing that's popping up more and more in the Kirkwood area are some modern style homes, like this one right behind me. This one's actually listed for sale. It's actually under contract. It's pending. List price was $1.15 million. How are we feeling about moderns? Do you like them? Do you not? I like them. It just kind of depends on the style. Some I feel like are a little too over the top, and others are tastefully done. So really just depends in my playbook. But here's an example behind me here that's kind of like in that a modestly priced home here in Kirkwood. It's priced at $865,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, built in 2012. So 2,400 square feet, has a garage. It has a nice layout, has some of those nicer finishes that you typically see in some of those newer build style homes. So my rule of thumb is just that the more updated and newer it is, you're going to be paying a little bit more. If it's a little bit more awkward, you're going to obviously pay less. Now let me take you over to one part of a Kirkwood area where if you see a house that the price looks too good to be true, there is a catch, and I will explain what that is coming up. All right, so the catch I wanted to tell you about is I usually have some people from out of town that are looking for homes, and they see a home that's on Memorial Avenue. The price looks great. Yes, I will give you that. But you're on Memorial Avenue. It is a very fast-moving road. If you can tell behind me, there are cars just flying by. So just know that if you are looking at a home on Memorial Avenue, or even maybe just, you know, 1 or 2 houses in, it can be very, very noisy and busy. And if you're wondering, these are townhomes behind me. These are selling in the high 500K price range. So there you go. I want to give you that little tidbit. One thing I will add about Memorial Avenue is that if you're driving along it from Kirkwood over into, say, Edgewood or Eastward, I will say there are parts of it that don't present the best. They can look a little rough, and that's just Memorial Avenue in general. So just keep that in mind. But, you know, it's a very quick moving road if you're trying to move east or west and cut across town. Now before I go, I'll give you a quick pros and cons list of living here in the Kirkwood area. I would say on the pros side, I would say that, if you're looking for a neighborhood feel, you can definitely find that here in the Kirkwood. It is walkable. There are lots of green spaces, and the neighborhood just has a lot of cool events that go on throughout the year. One other pro I would add in there are the price of homes here in Kirkwood. While they do seem a little bit high, they are actually much better than what you would have to pay, say, if you lived a little closer into town over in Old Fourth Ward, Inman Park, Virginia Highland, where those neighborhoods are also walkable, but they are definitely a lot more expensive. Here you can get a brand new build, which would cost almost twice as much if you lived closer into town. On the con side, I would say it was kind of hard to come up with some cons, but one, some of these older homes just have wonky layouts. So that is one con you'll find if you're looking at some of these older style homes. And two, depending on the time of day, if you're driving during those peak hour times, traffic can be a little bit brutal if you're trying to connect from Kirkwood over into downtown, midtown, that kind of thing. Sometimes it can just take a little bit longer, so have some patience with that. Otherwise, you guys, I couldn't really think of any other cons to put on the list here for the Kirkwood area. But you guys, that wraps up my tour of the Kirkwood neighborhood. Thank you for joining me. I always feel like I never put enough in. There's so much more to show you, but hopefully you got a good taste of what this neighborhood is about. But as always, if you're thinking about making a move to Atlanta or you want to move to Kirkwood, reach out to me, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. All my contact information is down below, and let's just set up a time that we can talk about what fits your needs, and I would love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging with me. If you see me out in the wild, make sure you say hello. I would love to say thank you for watching. But until next time, you guys, I'll see you around the neighborhood.